All right, 14th of September, right? Plan weekly meeting, right? Yeah, I think. Cool. The first item. So she's not here, but please join me in welcoming Yarka as the new engineering manager for the Certify team. Yeah, Yarka will manage a team of initially 3 team members from originally from the joined product planning and Certify team. Charlie, Felipe, and Rajat. Certify is now like a completely separate group, has his own designer, has his own incoming PM as well. That's Dan, who's designer, who just joined, by the way. And we've started planning for 15.5, but that'll be collaborative between everyone who's been involved in the group so far. And we'll start planning as an entirely new group next milestone. Yeah, so she's not on the call, but you know, please welcome her anyway. I'm sure she'll watch the recording. Any questions or anything? Cool. All right. Straight on to Nicholas then.
Cool. So I want to demo a bit the new issue creation in an Epic. And before we do that, I will just show you how it looked before. I only have a video, but I hope this works. So before the new changes, when you create an issue within an Epic, what you do is you add like an issue here, you select the project, everything reloads, and then you add the title again, you select the project, everything reloads. So quite a cumbersome process. And what we did with the new changes that gets merged hopefully today is, so when we create an Epic now, we go to an Epic and we want to create a new issue. You see, we use the default project based on the project you have used the most recent and created an issue in. So use the events that we store there. And when we create a new issue there, like some title, we can now press enter instead of using the button. It doesn't reload everything, and I'm immediately in the title again. So I can quickly create new issues very fast in the same project because we keep the project there. Yeah, and that's basically it. New experience for users. Any questions?
Yep, I have one, and it would be, can we prevent the reloading altogether and instead just add the issue to the list, similar to how we add the task to the list of tasks on the issue?
You mean that?
Yeah, you click on the button.
Yes, we can. I tried that. So when we reload this Epic issue tree query, it's possible that there was just some error in the test, and I thought, like, for iteration purpose, I will not do that for now. And yeah, so, but yeah, definitely possible to not reload everything. Already like move the reloading stuff here, so it doesn't reload the whole creation form.
Yeah.
And next step would definitely be to load issues in as we need them. Yeah, definitely it's possible.
Awesome. Thank you for the context.
I guess the error handling becomes a bit more difficult in that case, right? Because you kind of have the cards or the issues in your local or in your state on the front end. But if for any reason the request fails, you kind of need to show that somehow on the card, some error or some message or something else. Because like in the state, you have the issue, but on the back end it didn't save. So then you need to let the user know that something happened.
Yes, I think the error pops up here somewhere. So it's outside of the card.
I don't think that will be good enough. It's like, let's say you try to create the very fast issue, right? That one in the list, and it failed. Like as a user, I think it will be nice to show an error on it or something, because like you have it in your front end, but it's not actually saved. So I don't know how to handle that, because like it's not very helpful, I don't think, if you show a message at the top saying, well, some issue failed to be saved, and then you go looking for which issue actually didn't save.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, good. It could happen, yeah. But I don't think we would optimize when we create a new issue and we prevent creating one anyway, like a new one, before the one is saved. So you can't use the form before the other one is saved.
I think that's what Natalia suggested. Like, let's not reload. Like that kind of gives you this very fast thing where you like create and then you create the issue in your local state, so you don't have to block the creation form. You don't have to block the list sort of thing. So it's more interactive. At least that was my understanding from Natalia's suggestion. But maybe
it's correct. But luckily, we have optimistic response option in Apollo. So whenever the mutation fails, the unexistent issue will be removed automatically from this list, and an error will be shown.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I was understanding Natalia as this whole thing doesn't need to reload completely all issue lists, but like just add this last issue in, although it refetches everything again, actually. So, and we would maybe only block this create button as a next iteration.
Yep. We can also go with loading state and without any optimistic response. So just wait for the loading state and then add it to the list. It would be completely fine, just without refetching.
Cool. Thanks.
So quick question for me. I haven't looked at that issue yet. How are you doing with the docs update for this?
There is no, there's the question if there is a need for doc update in this case.
Okay, well, I'll check, but if you have to click a different thing than previously, then I guess let's
check if there's anything that we need to do. Yeah.
Thanks.
Should I go? Well, this has been discussed before in other places, but just wanted to bring some awareness in case there's any concerns. We're getting ready to start working on epics from cross groups sub epics. That means we go to an epic and we can add a child epic from any group we want, except an ancestor epic. This could this means we have to check permissions for every new group in that collection. And to prevent this getting too expensive as a query, we consider adding a limit of direct children an epic can have. So far, the limit was 100, because looking at the data, it seems that only 2 epics exist with more than 100 children. Also, I'm thinking maybe we can only limit the children that are from different group. But well, I'll accept that. And I think I agree that might not be very clear when you get an error for that. But the other option as well to make it a bit more flexible is to give the option to configure this yourself or remove the limit. But from product perspective, seems to not be any issues. So I have created an issue and we're going to schedule probably for 15.5. Any questions or if you want to add anything to the issue, because I might be missing some edge cases or some problems that I haven't considered. So I just wanted to bring it to the team for that.
Yeah, I lean towards keeping it consistent regardless if epics are coming from different hierarchies or not. Because then at least you know, okay, I have an epic and I cannot have more than 100 children within it. I don't have to constantly keep in mind that, well, here I have the limit because it's coming from at least 2 different hierarchies, but here I don't have the limit because it's just from a single hierarchy. And then I don't think we that it's that easy to kind of understand from which hierarchy every single epic is coming from. So yeah, if that's not an issue, I think it would be nice to just keep it as a single limit.
Okay, yeah.
And I was wondering if we need to implement this limit at all, or could we just state in the doc, like we only have 2 epics that have more than 100 issues as children. Should we maybe just state like after that amount, it may cause performance issues? That would be like a nice iteration. We don't need to do anything except for adding docs. And it actually doesn't affect any user most of the time.
Yeah, I think my concern would be that once the data is created, this error will not remove the children that are over 100. They will just show an error every time you try to add a new one. So if in, I don't know, in a year time, we realize there's many epics with many children and a lot of pages are slow, we couldn't go back and remove the data would exist. I think it's a valid question, and we could also just not add the limit and measure performance impact. And if it doesn't have an impact, we just don't add a limit. I think it's just a safe way of saying this is how bad it could get with these queries that are performing so many permissions checks. But yeah, that's a good question. We could just not do it for now.
I'll voice over. I think whenever possible, if we know that a user taking a specific action will get them into a bad state, right? Whether it be performance or bad data, whatever it is, right? We should prevent it as much as possible. If we know that it's gonna have a bad side effect in the future, documentation is like, as much as we would want users to read it, it's not something that they read all the time. Sorry, Martin. So as much as possible, right? If something as simple as putting a limit on the number of children will prevent paying for themselves down the future, we should do that. And other actions like that, right? That's one example.
And another important thing that I didn't mention, these children are being loaded together with the issues of the epic. The issues of the epic are just changing now to also allow issues from any group or project. So that's adding a lot of, well, it's another expensive query and many other permissions checked. And that's not, I don't think that's being considered to be a limit because I think there's more use maybe to have 1,000 issues in an epic. So this is also considering that the whole query is pretty intense already because it's loading all issues, all epics, a lot of metadata for each item as well. So yeah, it was mostly preventing.
My comments just around, like, I'm wondering when we try to solve this problem with group level resources and permissions checks at a wider level. Like, is there, I don't expect you to know the answer off the top of your head, Eugenia, like, but is there like a kind of like a technical solution to this? Like, or are group level permissions checks just always going to be expensive?
I think it's better now that we have the different structure of linear and how we check the groups. But in this case, that works to check traversal IDs when all the groups are from the same hierarchy. In this case, we're kind of collecting all the groups from all the children, I don't know, 100 groups, and then we're sending it to check permission. So in this case, we can't say they are the same hierarchy, so use traversal IDs. So some performance that's already in place would be lost. I think, yeah, it would be great if we could improve group. That also affects labels and other stuff that are at the group level. And also because group inherit permissions from projects, we not only check the groups, the new groups, we're going to check their projects as well. So those can be expensive. Up to 100 children, for now, it seems like it shouldn't be a problem. So if we could limit to 100 children, I think at least I would feel a bit more like this wouldn't be a terrible problem. But yeah, I think that would be beneficial to focus on that.
I'm smiling because, like, I think Melissa might think I've put you up to saying that about the project level permissions inheritance, because I've been trying to get that dealt with for a while.
Yeah, I'm very curious. Yeah, very curious how these work with work items eventually. If they were all together, we wouldn't have to make the difference between an epic and an issue. There will be just children. Maybe we can optimize permissions there. But at the moment, that query that gets all the child items, it's a bit more performance from epics it's going to be than for issues. And the limit was going to help epic, but not issues. It's a bit, I wish there were only one type, but I don't know if maybe we can make 2 queries, maybe, I don't know. But for now, if there's not a problem, we don't have to fix it.
I got a question about mixing in epics from different hierarchies at the permission level. Like, if I have permission to view the epic in both hierarchies, I can just link them between one another. And is that correct? So if I'm an owner in one hierarchy but don't have any permission in another hierarchy, I basically don't know what's happening in my own group in terms of epic. Is that
to be able to create the link, you need permission to admin the parent epic and admin the child epic. And also sub epics, it has to be enabled in both groups as well.
Yeah, so like only an owner in both, like if I'm an owner in both hierarchies, then I can basically do that and see the epics. But if I'm only an owner in one, then I will not see that relationship, right?
Yeah.
Yes, if you're owner in one, but no, you can't see the other group, you couldn't. No. What it means is some epics can have children that you wouldn't see, despite your role.
Okay.
That's intended.
Yeah, I wonder if this is more of a question to the authorized group, in the sense that all of this permissions calculation, I think it's very much related to how, like, we share groups into one another. So there is I'm not sure if there is any optimization going on with that stuff,
and just
like,
preloading groups for.
Yeah, it sounds related to what's happening there, and where you can share one group into another, and then at what point do you start seeing issues with a lot of the members and permissions and so on?
In the interest of time, do we want to move on to Kong and Mario's demo?
Sure. I'll start sharing my screen. Okay, so I'm going to demo adding a start date and due date onto a task, which is currently in review in MyMR. So, so on the left side is what you see when you have permission to add and edit dates, and then on the right is what you see when you don't have permission. So it's read only. So right now there are no dates, and as an editor, I can see 2 buttons. Clicking on one lets me lets me add a start date, which then updates in real time on the right for other users, and then I can add a due date as well. And and we've added a logic here to mimic the GitLab UI date picker range component. So if I select a start date, which falls after the due date, and then it automatically updates the due date to that same date and prompts you to select a new date. And then again, selecting that updates it for everyone in real time. And then I can also delete these dates. So that's that. Okay, so if there's no questions, then I'll pass it on to Deepika.
Yeah, let me just share my screen. Okay, so the first one is, I think everyone must have seen the, oh, sorry. Let me go to this, yeah. Sorry for this, yeah. Here. So the first one is the icon boards. Yes, all of you must notice work item types icons and boards for all the issues or the work items. So this is another like added UI or UX thing that we added in boards as well, which you can see on all the other kinds of work items. So you can see it here, it's added. And the other task that I worked on is infinite scroll for assignees. So let me just show it to you one. Yeah. So it's on production right now. It's a very small feature, nothing fancy. We just so right now on production before this, when you load the assignees, we didn't have infinite scroll. We didn't have more loading users. So now, right now, if you like focus on this, the list is there. And then when you scroll to the bottom, 10 at a time are loaded. So this infinite scroll feature was added here in the assignees, and we'll keep on adding it iteration wise to labels or in the sidebar widget to wherever it is necessary. But we just added it here for now. And as you scroll, you can like load more assignees here. Because this list is a little too long, I can show it to you in my local where the list is small, and then maybe you can just see that it just ends. And yeah, so it's just, yeah, so we reached the end of the list. And because it's Apollo, once it's loaded, if you focus on it again, the list is pretty much loaded and we don't need to load it again. So yeah, that's about the load more assignees. And yeah, are there any questions on the same?
On GitLab.com, where we have assignees, like so many assignees, will we ever see this invite member button in the bottom?
Yes, we will definitely, and that's another. So the footer is not sticky right now. Definitely, that's another. A follow-up issue has been created where the footer has to be sticky, and since it's a token selector, it need to improvement. So that's open, and yeah, that's a valid point. But definitely, it will only be visible when we reach the end of the list. Yeah, that's something which is working on it. Yeah.
It's actually, I mean, I think I know that issue is already open to add that, but if you actually think of like when you would use that, I think in most cases it would be that you're like searching and you don't find anything, and in that case it actually will show because you won't have any results in that list. Like most of the time you're probably not going to start by like going to invite, so it would be at the bottom of like your short list of non-results, I think,
Yeah.
right? It was when I was
Makes full
testing it
sense.
the other day.
Yeah, that's a valid point. But yeah, that's the issue is open, and let's work on it. Yeah, that's a valid point actually.
Deepika, I think you have the next demo as well.
So yeah, I showed both of them. The boards was pretty small, so I just showed that yeah, the icons are there and that's it.
Okay, awesome. Who got next? Helion.
Hello. Share my screen. Hi, so I'm gonna demo a feature that sort of got deprecated and reintroduced. Why don't I just demo a iteration cadence really quickly? And so we have something called the iterations. They're time boxes that are meant to be short compared to milestones or releases. It used to be the case that you had to manually create them, delete them, manage them. If you think about it, the sort of tasks that you have to do at the start of an iterations are sort of mundane. You create an iteration. The duration remains the same from iteration to iteration. So there was a case for automation. And if you take that reasoning to extreme, you might think that you need the ability to manually manage an iteration, right? So we deprecated that, and then we've received some pushbacks from users because our feature didn't let them do everything that they wanted to do. So we ended up reintroducing this little checkbox here that you can uncheck, and then you can create a manual cadence like this. And you can add iterations, and then you can delete iterations as you please. So that's the demo. Any questions? No questions, then I will hand over to Brett.
I don't think Brett's online. But yeah, there is. I think there is some markdown updates to be able to do math equations or math stuff in markdown.
Anyone know enough about it to demo it?
I don't know enough about it, but I've been looking at one of the MRs, and I can share the screen with the MR that and it has some examples.
I can demo it. Sorry, my mic wasn't working. I was just trying to raise my hand to demo, but it's working now. Yeah, sorry, Brett is at an appointment. He's got a dentist appointment, so he is not here. So I'll demo. So I can get the screen working. Okay, cool. Dollar math. So previously, in order, well, here, let me start off with showing what math looks like when we're not using math in Markdown. Preview. All right, just don't show anything there. Previously, in order to render it in math, we would have to go, I believe it's, or it might just be $1 sign. Yeah, $1 sign. Almost. Okay, cool. So that's how we were rendering math is $, and then the backtick. The standard or other markdown renderers have been using instead of backtick $2 signs, and this is what Brett has implemented. Oh, actually, I think it's just be $1 sign. Yeah, $1 sign. I guess $2 sign. But here's it. It was interesting. Oh, I don't know if that's intentional.
I think that creates a block. The $1 sign is in line, and the $2 sign is like just creating a block,
Oh,
as
okay.
if you'd write 3 ticks math and then do the stuff. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that works. Ah, cool. Okay, so yeah, we're still keeping, I don't know how, if we have a deprecation plan for removing the way we had it with backticks or not, but the way forward is going to be the single dollar sign without backtick. I believe there's a doc change in there too, Marcin, to show that this is the way forward.
Docs are updated, or maybe it hasn't merged yet.
Cool. Alexandra, you have a question, comment?
Yeah, I can verbalize that, but we'll probably want to make it private afterwards. Is that okay? Or we can leave it as read only. So yeah.
All right, let's hold off then until after, just so we don't have to make the whole video private. Unless, John, you want to just pause recording?
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that. Yeah. And we're back. Unless Natalia would like to verbalize her point. I know you marked it as read only, but it seems important.
No, wait, I also have one last minute demo. I just forgot to add it to the agenda previously, but let me quickly share my screen and show this really cool thing. So previously, when you were on the epic list and you were searching by author, for example, the numbers here didn't update, only for the active tab, which would be open, and rest of them were just provided from Haml and never updated. And thanks to the effort from Stanislav, it was really nicely implemented count on all the epics. Now we have everything properly updated. Like all the numbers on any kind of the filter are updated in real time. And the only little fix is now when you're loading the page, we don't show them, because otherwise we would be calculating them 2 times, one from the Haml and one from the GraphQL query. I don't think it's a big disruption for the loading moment, but I really like how the updated numbers now are reflecting the actual epics count. So this was it for the demo. If you have any questions, please drop them.
Sorry, so you're saying that like just in that split second where we load the page, you don't see numbers. That's a good thing,
Numbers,
right?
yeah.
We shouldn't be loading that stuff in the page load.
I mean, we could do this with Haml, but it would mean we count them 2 times and performance is not really the best on retrieving the epic count, especially for GitLab.org group, which is a lot. I just prefer to fetch them from GraphQL. And again, it was a suggestion from Stanislav, so all the props to him. Okay, nice. And John's one is read-only. So enjoy your time off, John. And one little addition that I started an architecture blueprint for work items. It feels like we're doing it in the reverse order. We should have been created an blueprint and then working on work items, but better late than never. So the idea of the architecture blueprint is to provide a very high level description of work items architecture for anyone who is not on the plan stage or is new to the plan stage or is in the plan stage but can't grasp all the context because it's really a huge feature. It's right now in a very raw drafty state because again, it's high level and I only managed to add terminology, motivation, and some goals, not all goals definitely, and not all problems. So if you have any ideas what should be added to this first iteration or to the next iterations, please jump in and add it there.
Awesome. Thanks. That's all our items, unless anyone needs more details on my PTO. Cool.